Down. Welcome to Joe's Atmosphere. All right, boys and girls, welcome aboard. It's time for another episode of Sketching the Privateer. I am your host, Joe's Atmosphere, better known as the Privateer himself, and I'm joined by Admiral Teague today. What's going on, man?
Hey, just hanging out. I'm doing all right. I've been kind of like in and out of it since I had COVID. It's like one day I feel fine. The next day I feel like I'm dragging a bag of hammers behind me. Today, I feel like I'm dragging a bag of hammers.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. And you chose my show to drag him onto. Nice.
That's right. I'm like the Jacob Marley of your show, coming here, dragging the Joe, I'm the ghost of the privateer past. Don't be like me. Don't watch new track.
Right. Oh,
but I guess the last time I was here, it started me down a brainstorming path, and I'm gonna have to run.
Yeah. Let's give them some context. We
pizza, but first thing I want to say is pizza's kind of on the way, and I didn't have a chance to get lunch, so I might run away for a moment. But we had a cool conversation about the about Star Wars, and it was the first time in a long time I found myself interested. John, aka Das Wolf, knows his EU inside and out.
Yes, and so does Knock. Yeah, I know you don't know that guy, but he actually knows more than the rest of them do. And what was funny is I didn't mean to say it, or excuse me, I meant to say it, but I didn't get to it on the broadcast. There's another guy. I'm telling you, every conversation we have on that show ends up in Star Wars, because not only are those two nuts for it, but there's a guy named Small Time Republic that comes on that show quite a bit too, and he's a huge Star Wars fan too. I'll sit back there and just listen to him talk about the extended universe stuff. Like when we were doing, if you go back and look, we did a review of every episode of Ahsoka when it was on. Okay.
God, episode 3. How did you do like even 15 minutes on that? It was like 9.5 minutes long. It was like a porno movie.
I know. But anyway,
except no one was pretty.
When they'd start discussing everything, because I'd never watched Rebels. I never watched that show, but they did.
They lied
everything
about
it
to the audience. Hello, Vinzinger.
But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would say that Ahsoka, more than anything else, if people are going to stand behind the storytelling, it's an opportunity missed, because what they said, that it's not a big deal to skip over Rebels, and that this thing is not going to be here in any. It's not going to be confusing to watch this without watching Rebels and without watching Clone Wars and without watching whatever the Rad Batch or whatever the name of their stupid ass new cartoon is. But the thing is, they
say it's one of the better shows. The Bad Batch.
That's not a high bar anymore, though.
No, it's
compared to Clone Wars Season 2 when Clone Wars hits its stride.
Okay, so I want you to hold that thought for a second because I know you got a lot to say. I've got to say hi to the chat real quick.
Go for it.
Christian Delorum was the first one in. It's good to see you. And yes, only 10 and a half weeks into New Orleans. Looking forward to it, man. By the way, if you guys are going to be in the New Orleans area, if you're in that area or around it, we're going to be down there. I can't remember exactly the dates. I'll let you know when we get closer to it, but it's in the beginning of May. And Kristen Delorme is going on vacation down there. Me and the wife are going to go to celebrate our anniversary down there. We try and go down every couple of years. So if you're in the New Orleans area, you can get to meet me and Christian down there. Let's see who else is in. Oh yeah, Vinzinger. He says hi, amigos. It's good to see you, man. Yeah, I'm fixing it. As a matter of fact, while he continues his story about Star Wars, I'm gonna start by showing you guys some video while he's doing that, and then I'll get started on my sketching for today. What's cool about this program I have here, Teague, is I can show time-lapsed video of. Excuse me. There's a little bit of a delay, and I tend to hit the wrong buttons at the beginning.
Yeah,
but
you got Godzilla effect on StreamYard, so I know that we're like sort of buffered out of each other, so we may accidentally.
Well, I'm actually doing this. I don't have anything. Plugging this straight to my computer, so I'm doing it through Twitch. Twitch is doing the raw feed.
Oh, yeah. I've considered this route for video games to Twitch.
There's a delay.
YouTube.
There is definite delay, but this way I can show. The great thing about Procreate is you can show time-lapse videos of what you've done. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Get back into your Star Wars thing because I really want to hear
Okay. All right. I've got to grab a pizza in 6 minutes. So let's see if I can start this, and then I'll take any questions people might ask.
Right.
All right. First of all, my brain shuts off when I hear terms like Yuuzhan Vong and Perdia. I don't fucking care. It is the extended universe. It's good stories. They had good writers. Alan Dean Foster's good. The other people are good. However, Disney did specifically go out of their way to shoot up not just one, but a dozen or so flares saying, this ain't canon anymore. Never happened. It doesn't happen until we scavenge it into life in a bad way. So it's also very, very different. For instance, Disney Thrawn, no matter how self-satisfied he is when he fails miserably by being an idiot, he's a fucking idiot. EU Thrawn is a tactical genius. It's like, to give you a specific example, we have the people that we've been chasing. We still can't track down the guy who's 100 yards away at the village below us, but we're having there's some people who were like, it's Ahsoka, and he's like, excellent, just as I've anticipated. Send out the TIE fighters, and then like either he's not a very good micromanager or he's like just a terrible commander because it's like 2 TIE fighters are dispensed. It's like we have literally thousands of TIE fighters,
and he's
going to send 2. And then it's like Ahsoka has escaped. He's like, exactly as I had planned. And that doesn't make sense unless you pay it off. And it's like the next week, it's like, I'm going to ask Sabine to track down the guy I can see from the window of my Star Destroyer. People are still stupid. Obscure Luke Skywalker is blown apart by the fact that they got rid of the EU. He is well known cinematically. Luke Skywalker is the hero of the rebellion. Luke, Han and Leia, there is no marriage aid in the EU yet. Wait till you get her, you'll hate it. But to me, when you watch The Rescue, unless they imbued some more of that EU with life, which they haven't, who told Luke who this person he blindly handed the baby to without asking the name was then, if Gina Carano didn't know? Gus? The war criminal that was supposed to take with him? And he's like, oh, I'll take the baby instead. Yeah. They don't ask him his name. Now, I understand that some of this might be due to Gina Carano situation and Jon Favreau realizing that the Kennedy people are gunning for him and trying to keep it secret. So you know what? If she snaps to and salutes, it does it all silently, but it's validation.
Yeah.
Cara Dune only talks about Alderaan. Cara Dune only talks about the rebellion. She should know who the generals are. She should know who the leader is. She should know who Princess Leia's brother is. And until they buy that back, because she's saying it all over the ship in Tross, my brother Luke, he disappeared, blah, blah, blah. So everyone knows this shit. The First Order knows this shit. They tell a bunch of bounty hunters they're the most honorable people in the world. I can't believe without the EU to nail it shut that in Disney that works. But you're correct about the EU. I stand humbled by his knowledge of canon, and I believe he in good faith. No, listen, I don't want to start shit with Das Wolff, and he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I love him, and I think he's correct, but there's room, and we finally found a little bit of room to debate Star Wars a little bit, rather than just, people like those people clash their action figures together poorly, and then someone else, no, they clash their action figures together well. The question here is, how much of it is real?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to understand what, because it seems to me that if there's confusion that helps them, they'll feed that.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, here comes my pizza.
And there it is.
I'll be right
Go
back.
get your pizza, buddy. All right, so that's you'd have to have seen the show. Hang on one second, and I will show you the thumbnail for said show that we did last week. Bear with me real fast. Actually, not last week. It was Wednesday. If you want to see what they were discussing. Let's see. Yeah. Pop it in here and pop it up there. Okay. I have like 4 different things on here. So sometimes I have to upload thumbnails several times. This was State of the Atmosphere this week. If you're wondering what they were talking about, we got into when we talked about Gina Carano. I'd say fast forward through about 2/3 of the show. You'll see our discussion of Gina Carano's lawsuit against Disney. And that's when this discussion came up, because Teague was under the impression she should know exactly who this guy is, know exactly everything behind him and everything. And we were trying to explain to him, hey, not everybody knows this guy that is basically a soldier in the rebellion at the time. So anyway, let's see. Christian says the Atmosphere meetup first week of May. There you go. Vin Ziegler says I'm more good at pencil than inking. Yeah, the only reason why I started this is because I found a way to ink and not mess it up with the Procreate program. Guys, if you wondered how I'm doing this, I'm doing it on my iPad with an... Oh, God, look at this. Ugh, I'm trying to break my shit. I'm doing it on an iPad, and you're going to see the screen do flips. I'm doing it on an iPad with my iPencil. See? That's what I'm doing it on. So, hang on a second. Done. Let's go back here to the gallery and show you some more work. Now, I love these. These are the character sketches I did, and I really like them. So let's show you. I actually made promotional posters for this. And let's see, where is the sketch? There it is. There it is. Now move that over just a little bit and get the size right. And we should be good to go. Okay, so let me show you this time-lapse replay. And while you're watching that, I hate that when it drops down, it cuts the top of the picture off. But anyway, while you're watching that, I'm going to bring up my script so I can tell you what's going on the first couple of pages that we're working on here. Privateer script is right here. But yeah, this is the action character sketch of the Privateer right here that you're seeing created right there. Oops. Excuse me. That's my script. If I can get my mouse, I'm just messing up here. I should have a producer for this, but I don't. Okay, so got all that. And this is the action character sketch I did for the Privateer. Okay. And of course, he's got what they call a split cape on his back, right? and the red that symbolizes the red stripes in the flag, and of course it's got the 13 colonies star circle on the back of his jacket, right? So that's the way we did that. By the way, here pretty soon, I've already started working on it on my website. If you want to order some of this stuff, I'm going to have it available pretty soon. I have to do another run of these promotional posters because I left them in my car after a show that I was doing, and sure enough, they got water damage. So I've got to get another set of those. But anyway, if you look behind me, anytime I do my shows, they're back there. And this is how I did them. I did them on my iPad and then sent them to the printers and got them done. So that's why I like to show these time-lapse videos so you guys can see exactly how they were done.
Now, is the Privateer's enemy a guy named Joe Willie White Shoes who wears all green?
Negative. This has nothing to do with football, pal.
What world does he live in, honestly? Where is he back in time? Is he now?
He is a time-traveling pirate, brother. I'm sure
that's pretty cool.
I'm sure Captain Finity is going to blow holes all through my story, but
who?
Captain Finity, the king of time.
Never heard of him.
You've never heard of him? You're so full of shit.
Never heard of him. Who the fuck is Captain Finity?
Right. Anyway, no, he was born in 1750. And
Captain Finity? Okay. No. He looks it. Oh, wait. I don't know who he is. I don't know what I'm talking about.
The Privateer. His name is actually, he's named after my grandfather on my mother's side, Robert McBriarty. I made him an Irish guy. And he is from Marquise, Maine. I'm trying to teach a little bit of history with the book. You know,
oh my God, useful information. Wow.
Yeah, useful information.
Really, you've chosen a tough hill to fight on.
Right. If you look up the first naval battle of the American Revolution, it was in Marquise, Maine, off the coast of Marquise, Maine, and I made that his hometown. And the story goes that the townsfolk there, upon hearing about what was going on down there in Boston, you know, they got a little fed up themselves, being pressed into service, guarding these ships that were supply ships that were coming in, right? And so when one of them left one day, a bunch of them armed with pitchforks and planks of wood for fucking armor went and took the boat on their own small boats. Basically, just shanghaied them when they were leaving port. So. I mean, you know the history. We didn't have a navy. We were colonies of the British state. So
we had about two.
We really didn't get any naval help until. Well, I take that back. I'll explain that in a minute.
We had 2 real ships. That's the bottom line, and then a bunch of people who had a license that I think you're about to explain.
Yes, that's where he comes in. I actually, what intrigued me about this story was when I was watching one of my favorite dramas of all time, The West Wing. I was watching that show, and in one of the episodes, what's her name? The one that played Lizzo in Grease, Stockard Channing. I think that's her name. She plays the president's wife. Okay. And she was being honored by the Daughters of the American Revolution. Okay.
Oh, she's in America. Part of her family's in America that long, I guess. Is the way
right. And she was being the character, and she was being honored by the Daughters of the American Revolution. And the running joke around the White House was they kept calling. I'm sorry, I keep hitting the wrong buttons. Kept calling her forefather a pirate. And it was pissing her off because she'd immediately correct him and go, no, he was a privateer. And I did some research on the privateers, and turns out what it was, guys, it was merchant marines and pirates that the colonies issued what they call letters of marque to. Now, what these letters allowed them to do was to go out and fight the British on the open seas, basically give them a license by the colony to fight the British on the open seas under the condition that anything that would help their war effort, munitions, gunpowder, medical supplies, stuff like that, they had to bring back to the colony, and anything else they got from that boat they could keep. and they were all about it. If you look at research, that first couple of years before the French got into it and helped us, dude, they were wreaking havoc and supplied a bunch of stuff for the fighting, and some of them went as far as the coasts of Great Britain to do it.
John Paul Jones attacked Scotland, and he's the only American military to ever invade England. However, I don't know if you're aware of this. He invaded the town he was from in Scotland.
Really? Wow.
And he went right to the Hall of Records. He wasn't interested in much else. He fought his way to the Hall of Records, where somehow all the records of him being drummed out of the British Navy for killing somebody by lashing them to death just disappeared. Now, for good measure, he set a piece of the town on fire. I'm guessing the people who owed him money. And it's like, don't ever fuck with me again. I'm John Paul Scrooge McDuck fucking Jones. And I think his real name is John Paul, because a lot of British people, and I'll cite for an example, Keith Richard added the S. His name is Keith Richard. He changed it to Keith Richards because there was another songwriter named Keith Richard, an American blues guy. So a lot of British people, not all, not a plurality, but enough, have two first names.
Yep. Okay, so real quick, on the technical side of this, I want you to see some of the mistakes I made. If you look right here, do you see the gap in the tail there is orange? I had to go back, and you'll see me do it and recolor all that stuff. This has been a learning experience for me from the get-go, because I've never used anything like this to do this stuff with. Ariel says those letters of marquee were given by just about every empire at the time. England,
that's true.
France,
the British
Netherlands, Spain, Americas, even Ottomans. Yes, absolutely true.
I would just point out we're the only ones who are like almost completely dependent on it, though. Everyone else had a navy, and for the other empires, maybe not Spain, it's sort of slightly going into retrograde, and it's really going to retrograde bad. But England, they have a huge standing navy that's pretty good. They deforest all of Ireland. Ireland used to be forested to build their navy, and whenever they go to war, they'd be like, anyone who wants a letter of privateering can have one. Just come by and pick it up. Yep. And then so you had all these merchant ships crisscrossing the globe. Every once in a while, an armed merchant ship or a few armed merchant ship could gang up on a maybe another rival merchant ship that's flagged correctly. That's when you always hear like, a United States ship with a Costa Rican flag, like that stuff starts to come into play.
Yep.
So your letter of privateering said you're a pirate unless and until you attack our enemies. Don't attack these people. It was specific.
Ariel says that little town he hit finally gave John Paul Jones a pardon. Really?
Well, you'd figure they're our closest allies. I would bet that pardon happened like World War I, World War II, or when they finally paid their World War II debt in like 2016, and they're like, here's the $750 million that we owed you. It's not worth much anymore. And we gave John Paul Jones a pardon.
If you wonder what that last piece was, where I wiped out everything but the hands, on the actual poster, I needed the hands just to put some special effects on there to make it look like her hands were wrapped. Okay, so this last one is yes, that's my wife's. That's Foxy's actual face.
Oh,
yep. I have designed all these characters to look just like members of my family.
I've noticed that when you talk about your wife, you sound like Clint Eastwood from Unforgiven. It's like, I used to drink and have my heathen ways, but my wife cured me of all that.
Right. Oh, Foxy. She's awesome, fantastic, man. She's awesome.
Can't wait to meet her.
Yeah, well, she shows up on stream occasionally, not very often, but she does every once in a while. She'll stick her head in here. But yeah, man, the story goes, you probably haven't heard the story, but he was born in 1750. At the age of 12, his father was dragged away by a naval press gang.
You're talking about Jones?
No, I'm talking about...
This is your privateer.
My privateer story.
Cool, okay.
His father was dragged away from him at the age of 12. Of course, anybody who doesn't know this, when the Navy needed men, they just came to the colonies and beat anybody from the age of 15 up to 40 within an inch of their life, and basically put them into slavery for the British Navy. So,
well, let's call it compulsive employment, guaranteed employment for a very low wage. Yeah, they have financial security because their wages are never going up. You get nothing.
Right.
You can have a few beans at the end of the day.
Right. But that's what happened to him, and he basically became the man of the house at 12. He was helping his mother with the farm and everything, and they were going to town for supplies one day, and in the general store, he heard a guy named Graybeard just boasting about why you people are even letting the British treat you like this, blah 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 blah. And he had never heard anybody talk like that before, and he followed him to the docks where he saw the Seahawk, his ship, for the first time. And
is the captain's name Pete Carroll?
No, the captain's name is not Pete Carroll, but yes, I named it the Seahawk because I'm a Seahawks fan. Yes, I did. But anyway, yes, it is appropriate. But anyway, he decides, he leaves his mother a note and says, "Look, I'm going to see if I can't find Dad." And what he does is he stows away on the pirate ship to learn the ways of the sea. And when they find him, he's brought before Graybeard. Graybeard takes him under his wing, and by slowly but surely, he becomes the first mate of the boat. And one day, when they get into a skirmish with a British fighting ship, they board it and get into a big battle. And in one of the penultimate parts of the story, he crosses swords with a guy that's older than he is, and it turns out he's in a mortal combat with his father. And he recognizes him right away, and the father doesn't recognize him right away. And he puts down his sword, and drops to his knees and just puts his hands up. And the guy figures out who it is, and he takes off his tunic, and they fight their way off the ship, and they get rid of the Brits, and they end up going home to the mother. And he drops his dad off at home, victorious, right? And it's about that time that they come across a ship, after they drop the father off. They come across a ship that's flying the American colonial flag, and it's been pretty much destroyed. It's sinking. It's got it's all busted up, and guys on it left to die, and everything, and he finds out what's going on with them, and he decides to get one of those letters of marque, and he tells his crew, "Hey, you don't have to go with me, but I'll put anybody aboard with their part of the booty, right?" And none of them leave, and so they end up waging a campaign against the British ships during the American Revolution. And yeah, that's the story of the privateer in the past. Now, the way he gets to the future, when he retires and hands the boat off to his first mate, he retires to a look at this. I got Pluto TV up. He retires to and by the way, before I get started here, this is the first page of the story. This is a Coast Guard cutter about to be under attack. Let me show you this one in the background while I finish telling Teague the story here. He retires to a desert island in the Bermuda Triangle that Graybeard told him about, and he goes ashore with all of his stuff. And one day while he's out hunting, he sees a tiger there's an Indian guy there, and he's obviously been wounded or something, and there's a tiger about to eat his ass, and the privateer saves him from the tiger. He kills the tiger, and he brings him back to camp, nurses him back to health, and this guy decides to smoke the peace pipe with him, right? And he's heard about this, and he's wondering what his vision will be and everything, and of course, we know now that they're smoking peyote, right? It's a hallucinogen, but they didn't know that back then. And yeah, the Bermuda Triangle. It's a made up place. Okay, the place I'm talking about, the island I'm talking about, is in the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, I put it there because everything disappears there, so hey, it's easy to make shit up in there. But anyway, what happens is they smoke the peace pipe, and when they get started, the Indian guy. He's obviously a shaman of some sort, some kind of medicine man. And he asked him. He says, "What do you? What is it that what do you care about the most?" And he says, "Well, it's probably, the nation I helped free from the British. They're really doing well and all that stuff, and I'd love to get back there, And whenever he says that, when it tells him that, he starts to have his vision, and his vision is the history of the United States. He sees it from him fighting in it all the way through, and he sees the marvel of the industrial age and all this stuff, and then he gets a little concerned when he starts seeing, he sees their resilience in the first two world wars and stuff, but he starts getting concerned, when we start fighting in Southeast Asia and stuff. And then when the planes hit the towers on 9/11, he freaks out, right? Cries out, and he wakes up on that island, right? On September 12th, 2001. The shaman has sent him to the future. Okay. And and later on in the story, it hasn't come up in my drawings yet or anything, but later on in the story, the shaman turns out to be an alien. Okay. It's an alien.
If a country doesn't have borders, why is this alien giving orders on behalf of the United States?
I'm talking about extraterrestrial alien. Okay.
Oh, anyway, okay. As long as they come straight down and don't cross over any borders, they come directly down into the middle of the United States. That's fine.
And tigers appear out of nowhere. I have to do a little research. I figured there might be tigers down around the equator, but I might have to make it a bobcat or something. It's going to be some kind of animal.
I just think you could have a burned out ship in the background where it was all clawed up by animals and be like, this zoo ship is.
But when he shows up there, he finds out later that this guy's an alien. And he put him where he thought he needed to be the most to help out this nation that he'd helped build. Right?
When does he consult a woman to figure out what to do? Because he seems to be unguided.
Listen, Homer, let me finish, and then you can poke holes all through it. Okay. Anyway, it's what, a couple of 100 years later, all the stuff that he has collected, his booty, is now worth billions, and he, kind of like Batman, buys up a bunch of companies that have military contracts, and he gets all the best toys, and he starts fighting tyranny and all that shit. He's the all-American pirate, man. He's America's pirate patriot, the privateer. Anyway, let's see, what's Ariel telling me? Was it not only the shaman, but also the fact that he's in the Bermuda Triangle and time could have had a factor? We could do that, but the way I'm writing it, he's actually, this guy has time traveling technology. It's not really time traveling. You'll see as I do the book, it's more like space folding. I think Tegan knows what I'm talking about. Yeah.
This is the one where we see in a lot of movies where the guy folds the paper in half and shoves the pencil through it.
Yes.
Now everyone knows exactly what I mean. Yes. It's been used to death, but it
has.
I want to congratulate you on that, because you could have easily rabbit holed in trying to have rational, explainable time travel.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. It's going to destroy your story. People just, if you spend any more time on time travel, then I am magically flashed into the future after they injected me with the drugs and put me onto the transmutator, or the Terminator appeared with a flash of fire. And no one walked out of those movies saying, I feel cheated. That didn't make sense. Right. No one walked out of Star Trek 4 like, damn it, spinning around the sun at beyond the speed. No one has walked out because they got the time travel just the hell out of the way and tried to get on with their story. If you want, it is interesting and deeply appealing to have people from different parts of history meet up. Even Doctor Who, it took a lot of sabotage to kill that brand. It was cool. But, if you make it a story about the nuts and bolts of time travel, it will fail every time. Everyone will hate it. And I will spend $25 on Patreon to your competitor to keep your story out of it.
Right, of course. Yeah, it's not going to be anything like that. But he's going to use the technology not to, And a couple of times in the story, it's going to get messed up on him. I mean, you know, we're talking about stuff that he doesn't really understand. This guy, he's smart.
The veracity. Why shouldn't he make mistakes?
Yeah, you know.
What do they give him? Check out this special. I've re-rendered the controls. This is an astrolabe. Here's a paper map.
Right,
it's not going to work. He has to get pushed into the future. But you know, I would say if you could have a cool moment, one cool moment, since he's operating in that area anyway. Why not have him go to Connecticut, ditch across the Sound, and see a bunch of strange people at the southern shore of Connecticut building this boat called the Pequod and wondering if it'll ever be a good whaling ship. You know, because you have that opportunity.
Yep,
Moby Dick takes place in the past and is supposedly an older ship. It would be being built maybe about the time that the privateers around.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you. Just to let folks know, what I do is I take a picture of, I sketch these on blue line paper, just like every other comic book artist does, but I do it with a regular graphite pencil so that I can see it. And that's what you see here. One of the layers is the actual sketch that I did. I took a picture of it. Okay. And what I do there is I build layers on top of that. Now, this is the inking layer, and that one right there is the actual title logo for the Privateer right there. So what I do is I work on, you got to make sure, and I'm, like I said, this is a learning process for me. When I started, while you were talking, I made the mistake. I do it every week. And the only reason why I noticed it is because I messed up and switched to eraser. And watch this. Real quick. I erased part of the sketch. See, that's how I knew I had messed up. You see where it got really white right there?
Yep.
So, and the beautiful thing about this, and the only reason why I'm doing this is because you can actually just hit the back button and it goes away. Anytime you notice you did something wrong, you can hit a back button. I can sketch all day. I do pencil sketch portraits. You can ask Kristen DeLorme. He's bought a piece of my artwork before. I've sold several of them. I do shows where I push my portrait art, but I've never done inks because I was always afraid to mess them up, because once you mess up with ink, you can't fix it. It's there for life. You can't do anything about it. You know what I mean?
No minimizing it. You're fucked.
You are fucked. Exactly. But this gives you the opportunity to mess up all you want. All you have to do is go back. So that's why I'm doing it this way. But you've got to remember to get it on. That's why I started labeling my my layers, pencil, ink, inserted image, that kind of thing. So I'm on the ink thing now, and now I can go to work on.
So the sketch image is the sketch scrimmage.
There you go. That's it.
Hey, you could use that.
And a lot of guys put a lot more detail in their sketches. I wanted to go ahead and try and get started and just teach myself how to do this. Now, I'm not trying to be Michael Jackson here, guys. This was actually suggested to me by, I can't remember who it was. One of the guys that watches this show quite a bit suggested that I use one of these things because I can put my hand. One of the problems I was having, and it just happened, I think because I shifted. One of the problems I was having was I was touching the pad, and it was messing up my drawing. I kept switching to erase, so I was messing it all up, right?
The foreground looks like it was etch-a-sketched a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that one of the people you accidentally nuke erased a little bit?
Who?
Or is he still?
This guy?
No. Yeah, the first guy losing his hat. So he's just still coming in. You're still rendering him into existence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Look, these guys. I didn't do as much detail on some of these guys as others, but
you're saving all your talent for the strong woman who's going to give him his mission in the middle of the comic, right? I mean, that's his character arc. He's lost and helpless until he finds like a strong woman.
No, this is not a Disney production, my friend. No, this is not.
Order this comic book. We already know if it's bad, it won't be bad the same way others will. At least you'll find a new path to a mediocre. I have faith that it'll be a good story. But I don't know. The absence of the strong woman, and there goes your distribution. People, get behind this.
You think they're not gonna buy in? They're not
By
gonna
the
buy
time
in?
you get, you know what? Things are changing so freaking fast right now.
They are.
I honestly feel like Time's Up Me Too is meeting in someone like a Peltz, a believable, likable guy's like, what have I done wrong? I've been married for 65 freaking years. You know, he's like an old raisin head. And that he's going to remind people of another New York area billionaire. That's all I'll say. But the thing is, he really is very, very, very good rhetorically. He's much, much more focused. He has a lot less to worry about. One guy's trying to take on a world's worth of issues. This guy's taking on like a bunch of idiots and Disney. Not that he doesn't have his work cut out for him, but some of the questions and responses were great. It's like, what makes you think that you could make a movie, you know, when you have no experience? He's like, all right, let me ask you this. What's the experience that's stacked up against me? And they're like, well, this guy's done this and this and this, and they did this and this. He's like, what have they done but fail? So what difference does it make if I have any experience? I'll hire someone. I'll hire someone good.
Yep.
And they're like, wow, that's a bold statement. He's like, yeah, you really?
Right. The K.A.52 alligator? Is she telling me a predator I can use? Not unless you have an overweight helicopter. K.A.52 alligator. Is that a helicopter? The one you're seeing here, the one you're seeing here is a hind. That one's a hind. It's a Russian one because, of course, the privateer's nemesis is a guy named Communist Rain. A guy that named. Look, this is going to be very 80s influence. You see in the cover. Hang on. In the cover thing, you see he's hanging out the side of a Huey helicopter. Okay, it's not a Black Hawk. That's a Huey. Okay.
My father did that a few times.
Well, the reason why I'm making it that way because that's when I was in the military. Okay, we weren't friends with the Russians then, and I made his nemesis a guy that was actually special forces in Afghanistan when Russia was in there. And he got up. He was the son of a Politburo member, you know, and he freaked out when they pulled out of Afghanistan and tried to get him to change their mind, and they ended up slamming him in a gulag, okay, for several years. And he breaks out, and he basically wants to bring the old Soviet Union back together, all the Soviet satellites back together under the hammer and sickle. You know, he's a patriot. Just like the privateer is, but of the communist, you know, of communist Russia from the 80s. You know what I mean? Before the wall.
If you're looking for the name of like a puppet leader for him to have or a sidekick, may I suggest either Stalinist Sam or Socialist Stan?
Socialist Stan.
Yeah, I hate more Stalinist Stan. Stalinist Stan is shorter. It's less lettering, but Socialist Stan is probably funnier.
I'm going the entire. I mean, look, I'm going the way of old Marvel, man. From when I was a kid, I used to read Spider-Man. You know, a lot of these guys that make these stories now, they do these. Like, for instance, Rippa. God love him. I love what he's doing. I love that he's set up his own economy and everything. But the only thing I don't like about it is he's putting out graphic novel size books. And I want people to experience this story the way I experienced Spider-Man growing up. These are going to be 20-page rags, man. You're gonna, you know, just like a regular comic book. It's not going to be a graphic novel. What I'm planning on doing is once I get rolling with this thing and I've got more time to work on it and I can get it on a regular schedule, I want to do 3 of these a year and then put out a compilation of those 3 issues. Each story will be 3 issues long, right? And then at the end of the year, I'll put out a 60-page graphic novel of the whole thing. You know what I mean? So that's my goal. That's what I want to get to. But I may not do that until I'm in my 60s. I mean, this is some hard work, man. I did not know what I was getting into, but it's fun to work on it though. Ariel Ballet says, not unless you have an overweight buffalo of a woman that's transgender, then your comic is gonna fail, Joe, because you'll get all those alphabet warriors coming to you. Yeah, no, that ain't gonna happen. We aren't friends with the Russians now. Laugh out loud. Yes,
yeah.
I'll never trust them. I'll never
trust them.
the president.
The
now,
Kremlin. I'll never trust the Kremlin. I like the Russian people.
Yeah. Well, hey, just like any country, the folks are cool. It's the government and the people that run it. They're the buttheads.
They're going to call us phobes, so we got to be a little careful.
Yeah, it's fine. We aren't friends with the Russians now. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when Putin wants Alaska back, saying our purchase was illegal. Good Lord. Maybe he is communist. Maybe I just need to make communist range him. The Marxist Max. She's coming up with names now. You got to look it up for names. Lenin is Lenny.
I say you've got like a hit squad there. Like Socialist Stan would be the leader,
right?
And he's always standing for socialism,
right?
Whenever he orders them out on like a hit, he's like, in order to get the capitalist dog off the back of the working class pig, we need to go rob this bank.
Right. Actually, what's going on here is Communist Reigns, one of his revenue streams is running drugs, and this is like 12 miles off of Miami. This happens. Okay, so this is the incident that starts the entire story, and it revolves around this in our time, but this bounces back and forth between the story in the past and actually a couple of places in history. The three places in history it covers are his origin stories in here in the first three issues. A lot of it's in the second issue. And then you've got him hunting down bin Laden shortly after 9/11 too. He actually ends up arrested in a city in Afghanistan because he gets a lead on bin Laden's doctor. Right.
That was the thing that they were always saying at the time. Go find him. He has to travel with a doctor.
Yeah, he has to. I mean, look, it's kind of hard to believe they didn't know where this guy was. It really is, because the guy, first of all, he's over 6 feet tall, and he's got liver problems. He has dialysis that he has to do, on a regular basis. Oh, I believe Cubanist Castro. It's funny you mentioned Cuba, because at the end of this book right here, when we get into the Afghanistan part during a flashback, he gets arrested in Afghanistan and put into Guantanamo Bay. So that's a pretty interesting part of it. I'd have to, I tell you what, if you go back, guys, I try to do it once a year, and maybe I'll do it soon, but I go back through the story and show you. I've got the first two issues have been plotted like this already, Teague. That's what most of the show has been up to this point, me drawing those, and I'm just now getting into the inking part of it. So I've got 2 full issues, 40 pages already plotted out for the first 2 issues.
That's impressive.
I've already got that.
That's more planning than I give most things.
If you go back, I've got playlists for all my shows, and if you go back and look at the playlist on this one, there's actually, you know what? I'd have to look it up, and I will get it for next time around. But and I'm gonna do it once a year. I usually get the cards out, and I'll show everybody the cards over on my drawing table and tell the story. You know what I mean? I figured this is a good way for me to kind of retroactively copyright my work before I get it out there, so nobody gets a whiff of what I'm doing and tries to do the same thing. You know what I mean? So, well, listen, we have come up against time. I get to talking with my buddy, and I get distracted and I don't get as much work done. But I just figured, since you hadn't been on the show, I would tell you the story and show you how I'm doing the work. But anything you want to push before we get out of here, man? Because I got to get ready for work. I only do this for about an hour, so.
Oh, I'll be on at 6:30. Check out my channel and my show. I'm Admiral Teague. I'll drop it in the chat if there's time.
Okay, all right. You drop it in the private chat, so it'll show up in a link as a link.
Okay, not a problem. I'll do that I'm just navigating there now.
No problem. No problem. Just get a link.
I found out the weirdness of YouTube is you go into your own channel description, and if you pull up your channel, it will come up with the link and the tag instead of just your link for it.
Yeah.
when you go to like once you start sending out YouTube videos, you kids will find this out.
I set up my streams way ahead of time. I try and have them up
not the private chat. Hold on, I'll put it in the private chat. Duh.
It's okay.
Yeah, come hang out with genius Admiral Teague.
We got it. Hang on, let me get it real quick. And because if you put it in there, it's not going to show up as a link. If I put it in there, it will. Here's the link right here, guys. Link to Admiral Teague's show.
Did anyone respond?
He is a big Star Trek guy, folks. He does some great stuff. Saving Star Trek is his brand. He wants to save it. He wants to see it do better. He really does.
Preserve what's left of the old. Because the future ain't looking so great.
Yeah. Well, things are changing so quickly, though. I mean, they have to make the stuff. We're about 2 years behind. In a couple of years, things are going to look a lot better. I really think. There's the link in the chat, guys. Go check that out. And I want to thank you guys for being here. Let's let you know what's going on with the channel real quick. Of course, you're watching Sketching the Privateer. I do this every Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Central Time. All the times I'm fixing to say are Central, so be aware of that. I do this for about an hour before I go to work on Fridays. I used to do it on Saturdays, but this is the new time, 1 o'clock on Fridays. And so come see what's going on with the Privateer. Also, Sunday, we're going to be covering the Super Bowl from the top to bottom. We're gonna be doing it starting at 10 a.m. Central Time. You'll have our pregame show, Super Bowl 58 pregame party. Come check that out. Me, Knock, Das Wolfen. I'm sure Teague will be in the chat. Hopefully, Matt from Small Time Republic will be there, and we're gonna give you everything you need to know about that game from top to bottom on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And then about a half an hour after the game, we're going to do the 2023 season wrap party. I say half an hour because I want to wait until the broadcast is over on CBS. That's the network covering it this year. As soon as their network goes, because for some reason they feel like they've got to go into the losing team's locker room and talk to the coach. I don't know why they do that, but if you want to see that, you should really watch it on the NFL Network. But anyway, when they're done with the broadcast, come on over and check it out. We'll talk about the season, what we liked, what we didn't like, all that good stuff. And then
you see the losing coach broken on the wheel by the phony media.
Absolutely, no doubt. And then Military Monday on Pop Culture Minefield's channel, I'll be there talking about Sicario 2, the Day of Soldado, with Gary, another movie that inspired Vindicated Inc. You definitely want to come check that out. If you're into military stuff, I'm a vet, so's Gary, and we talk about military movies from a veteran's perspective. So you guys come check us out at 10 a.m. Monday morning for that. And then It's Only Talk and Roll is on That 70s Rock Fan at 4 p.m. Central Time on Monday. I'm not sure. I think we're doing music this time around, but I'm not sure what the stream's about. He made when he gets iffy about it, sometimes he's going to take the week off. But on a regular basis, It's Only Talk and Roll comes your way at 4 p.m. Central Time, and I'm a regular on that show on That 70s Rock Fans channel at 4 p.m. Central Time on Mondays. And then I start my streaming week with Papa Joe Gamer After Dark, video games, cocktails, and fails. And this week I'm going to be doing Star Wars, The Force Unleashed, Part 2. I'm going to play another round of that for a couple of hours, have a couple of cocktails, have a few laughs, that kind of thing. And then and that's at 10 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we got State of the Atmosphere, which Teague has been on the last couple of editions of that. We've had a pretty good time. If you missed the one with the Gina Carano story and my little review of The Beekeeper and so forth, you guys go check that out, man. It was a good show. It really was. We had a good lively debate about Star Wars and stuff. It was pretty cool, like Tig was talking about earlier in the show. But we do that every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time for a couple of hours. And shortly after that, it's going to be back to Pop Culture Minefield with Das Wolfen playing Pal World on game night at 8 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. And then we come right back around to sketching the privateer. So for myself and the Admiral, we want to thank you guys for being here. Like, share, and subscribe. Everything we do, please. We need all the help we can get. Ariel says her tagline, and she always does, until next time, everyone, stay out of trouble and don't get caught. I love that. I love her little tagline. She always says it. And until we see you again, I want you guys to keep on keeping on. God bless.